Hi, welcome to the Intern Whisperer. My name is Isabella Johnston, and we are kicking off this year, 2023, with looking at what are the fan favorites for 2022. And we welcome you all to the show. And if you're a new listener, you know I typically kick off the year or kick off the episode with a tip of the week. And this one's not going to be that way. This is going to be a very different show. So we're going to be looking at what our listeners voted as fan favorites as we move into 2023. Now, we had so many guests. We had 50 guests that showed up on the show. And out of all of it, here's a little background story about the competition. All of these guests were sent the links to their YouTube video so you could watch it if you want, or you could listen to it on your favorite streaming device. Well, they were given that along with 5 snippets. And so, out of the course of basically, they had 3 weeks to play the game here in December to see who would get the most downloads on the audio and the most views on our YouTube channel, on our Employers for Change YouTube channel. So, this was exciting to watch. And we had different winners. We had different winners, 3 different people that won on the YouTube channel, our E4C YouTube channel, and then 3 different on the Intern Whisperer podcast that streams on audio channels. So, what I'm going to do here is so you get an idea, you'll be able to find out who they are in just a minute. But we're going to count down the top 10 of the audio podcasts. You can find this information on our e4c.tech website. Go to our blog page. You can see the list of the top 10 for audio and top 10 for the YouTube channel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the episode. I unfortunately don't have enough time to be able to list all 50 of the guests. Believe me, you definitely want to go and listen to them. So, coming in at number 10 on our audio podcast that streams on anything that you like, over 20 podcast channels, was Steve Isaacs. He is a previous educator, a game enthusiast, and the educational program manager with Unreal Engine. His episode was 215. This guy is an innovator. He was thinking of things that were forward thinking, thought leader stuff way before people started bringing in games into the classroom. So go check his episode out. Number 9 was Amanda Allen with the Florida High Tech Corridor. And Amanda is the program manager of the STEM Connect program. And what that means is she brings learning to middle and high school students throughout the whole state of Florida. She's amazing. She was one of my favorite guests too, just because we had a woman in tech and she talked about the type of e-learning that takes place with the Florida High Tech Corridor that's sharing with the students in schools throughout all of Florida. Her episode is 187. Number 8, the guest that got that spot was Jamie Donnelly. She is a former math teacher and an instructional technologist who has written 2 books. I think it's really 3 now, honestly, about teaching extended reality, XR. She is a thought leader in the space of AR and VR, augmented reality, and um, virtual reality. And you should really go and listen to her show so you can learn more about what it is that she's doing, what she's written, where she's speaking. She's a speaker. They're all amazing. Episode 199. Coming in at number 7 were 2 interns that worked with me for the summer, Christian Flowers and Daniel Conti. They're both from UCF, that's University of Central Florida. Go Knights for those fans that actually know that school too. And they were in the film program as well as I think they have a separate program for videos, but they were both in film. Anyway, they came in and they learned how to edit the podcast, but they were also the last guests that we had when they were cycling out. And so we talked about what do their career plans look like. We talked about what they think the future of work is going to look like in 2030. So they're just super good guys, really smart. They did a great job. And I encourage you to go and look for them. Daniel Conti, Conti, Christian Flowers, and their episode is 212. So if you're a UCF fan, hopefully you go and you listen to that. Number 6 was Ted Bogart. Now, Ted is here in Central Florida, and he is a video. He also does a live Facebook every single day. He does this every single day. He brings in people from all over the world, but a lot of them are also here in Central Florida. He is a community builder. He's an expert in insurance, mortgage, and real estate. My goodness, there's just like something. What doesn't he do? And when you listen to the show, you'll learn a lot more about Ted. His episode is 211. And then we had Jeremy Gottschalk. He was number 5. He came in at number 5 on our top 10 countdown. Jeremy is a veteran. He was in the Army as no, I'm sorry, the Marines as well as the Navy. And he was a cryptologist when he was there. He would decipher code that the enemy was putting through, anything that they were trying to hack our country with. So he was one of those that was breaking the code that um, any enemies could potentially be using against the United States. He's turned into a marketing consultant and he's wicked smart. He runs the Valencia College Voice, the newspaper that's here, but he does other things. And so if you have not listened to his episode, that is episode 205. Please go and listen to it. Jeremy is, and also really, he has autism and he talks about what that is like being an adult and in the military and how that has impacted his relationships. Uh, Usually for the best. You're going to find it really positive and really encouraging. So I hope you go and listen to that one. Coming in on number 4, this is again the audio downloads that we had, was Bob Dixon. He is an Army veteran and he is an author and an innovation strategist. He works with Synapse Florida. And I always look forward to seeing him every year at Synapse Orlando and Synapse Tampa. Synapse is a Florida based organization, as you can tell from what I just shared. And they bring everything that's the latest in innovation and technology and the future of at this 1-day conference where we all get together and we're sharing what it is that's going on in the space of Florida and innovation. So I'm really glad that I was able to share those people. But now we're going to be looking at the top 3. And I got a little treat for you. One of the things that I have here is a snippet from each one of those shows. Now, keep in mind, you're going to get to hear them talking. It's not very long. The show format that I was using last year is, what are 5 words that describe you and why those 5 words? Best piece of mentoring advice that they want to pass on to our listening audience, their career path, and then their own predictions of what the future of work will look like in 2030. Now, it's not necessarily in that order. Honestly, it usually goes the 5 words that describe you, their career path, their company, wherever they're working. Then we go into the second half of the show, and it's the future of work. And then we go into the best mentoring advice that they want to pass on to you. So Matt Brown is coming in at number 3. Now, I met him at the Future of Education Technology conference that was here in Orlando last year. This year it's in New Orleans. He is a speaker. He is a thought leader in the space of learning, culture, and organizational growth. His episode is 210, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up his episode so you can hear it right now. Well, I think I'm going to be pulling it up here. So give me just a minute so I can get it all queued up and get it ready for you. Hold on. Here we go.
I think one of the things we'll see is that all 5 of my words and the general themes all have some really strong correlation or linkage. From an inclusive perspective, it touches what I've talked about with optimism and with curiosity, and that I always strive to learn more. I have found so much value when I open myself to different perspectives, when I open myself to try and understand different experiences. And as I go through every one of those moments, it just reinforces my desire to try and always be open and inclusive, inviting all perspectives, all mindsets, all opinions. They're not all going to be pretty. They're not all going to be received with a a glowing smile and, yep, let's go with that. But they all give me an opportunity to go back and sort of reflect.
Mm.
And it's when I have those moments of reflection that I see how I can make myself better today than I was yesterday.
So that was Matthew Brown, and he was coming in at number 3 for us in our show. So one of the things that we are going to be doing is, again, his episode, just so you have his episode also. Let me go ahead and pull that one up here too. I'm switching between the screens, so it's a new thing for me. Normally I always have somebody in here that's assisting me, and this time I do not. So you'll have to bear with me for just a minute. His episode was over here. Ooh, I can't find it. Well, we're going to go on to the next one that I do have. And so for that next episode that's coming up, that person that came in on number 2 was Albie Shanefelter. So let me tell you a little bit about Albie. He is a stage 4 cancer survivor, and he's fighting for his life also. So one of the things that's super important about knowing about Albie is he has started what I consider a nonprofit, and he is there to help people learn more about being kind. His organization has 3 B's in it, and those 3 B's are all about be kind, be good, and be well. And he'll talk about that. Why I brought him into our show was because I wanted him to be able to share. First off, he's so positive. He has an incredible outlook on just gratitude. And we played his show. It played during that time of Thanksgiving. And he was there to talk about everything that he is so grateful for and that many times we take for granted. So you might want to remember, that particular side of the show when you're listening to his snippet, because it was about being grateful. And he is, again, stage 4 cancer fighter. You can find all of these guests on LinkedIn as another little side note. Oh, and Matt Brown's episode was 210. Just a little throwback there. Now, Albie's episode is 224, and let's go listen to his snippet.
To the point where, with all this, where I was headed was, I recently had a launch party planned for 3bs.org, but I didn't quite get finished and ready in time. So instead of canceling, my family and friends were like, nope, we're having it. And so we called it Gratitude Fest 2022. And it was like the most heartwarming, loving thing that like I've experienced almost in my whole life. And as we head into these winter months that are going to be tough, and we're talking about chemo in addition to the 3 treatments, we just needed that extra gratitude to fill up. And I think if you can learn to take down your walls and let the gratitude in, I think there is some of this. We block the gratitude from coming to us. And it's there. You just have to be open to it and start practicing.
So that was Albie Shanefelter. And his episode, just so you know, when you go to look for it, is episode 224. Really encourage you to tune into that one, because many times we forget that we have something to be grateful for every single day. If you have a roof over your head, you have food in your house, you have pets. Pets are, really good listeners and part of your family. All of these things matter. And that's what he's looking at. And friends, people that care about you, it matters a lot. So the top number 1 show for 2022 on our podcast, just to give a little announcement, is Victoria Yampolsky. Victoria's episode is 222, and she is a Russian immigrant. She came here to the United States when she was 16. She learned how to program. She was just throwing herself all in, and she did not know very much English. So that's pretty significant. She's an entrepreneur, she's a mentor, she's a CFO, a fractional CFO, and she has started an organization to help women with financial modeling, with understanding valuation, and also being, definitely financially fluent. I cannot express enough good things to say about her. She is a real go-getter, and she came out of the gate ready to take this number one spot. So let's go listen to what Victoria has to say. And remember, it's episode 222.
Is, I would say, a mystery to most people.
Mhm.
And if we're going to talk about a skill that is easy to embrace as a skill that's going to change your life, there's two different things. I would say a very important concept that every founder should know is the difference between cash and income.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's very often equated to each other, but they're not the same thing. And therefore, we have two different financial statements, one of which tracks how cash moves and depicts liquidity of the company, and that's a cash flow statement. And another one is a profit and loss statement, which converts our income into the net profit.
Okay, so that was Victoria Yampolsky, and that's episode 222. And I encourage you to go and listen to her. Go check her out on LinkedIn. She is a powerhouse. Now, typically, this is where we do a little short promo for our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios. And I usually will have our interns insert that in here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it right now, just live. And our sponsor is Cat 5 Studios. They produce our game that's on Steam, Intern Pursuit Game. They also produce the Intern Whisperer, and all of these things are brought to you by Employers for Change. Cat 5 Studios is our partner, and we want to thank them for everything they do to help us make our videos look great, our audio look, sound amazing, and then also everything that they do for our game. So thank you, Cat 5 Studios. So now we're going back to the second half of our show. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have this background music going on. I like it, it's got a nice vibe to it. Anyway, now we're going to be looking at our YouTube channel. Employers for Change is the company that brings this podcast to you, and along with all of our videos that you can listen and watch. Now, with Employers for Change, if you go Google employers and it's the number 4, not the word, number 4, change, you will find our podcast listed as one of the channels, and people can watch them. Now, we have our podcast in video format, so it's friendly for those that are deaf or hard of hearing, because we put closed captions in there. We also make sure that we have SRT transcripts, and those get attached to our Podbean site, which is our hosting site. Now, over here, we're going to be counting down our top 10 video podcasts. And so there were 2 sets of awards. I'm just making sure that that's real clear to our listeners. We had 3 first place, second place, and third place for the most downloads in the audio category. But when it comes to videos, we did views. And so that's where it matters. We counted all of the views that all of our guests from 2022 had. And so here's our top 10. And the top 10 had a tie. So the 10th place was, one of them was Jane Oates, episode 184. She served as the Assistant Secretary for the Employment and Training Office of the U.S. Department of Labor. She is now the Executive Director with Working Nation, and she is so incredible. You all really need to go and listen to that episode or watch it, because it's episode 184 on our video channel. And you'll be able to learn more about Jane. But she is a big advocate fighting for equal rights, for diversity, for inclusion, all the way across the board for all of us in this country. But in particular, she pays attention to veterans, to individuals with disabilities, internationals, all of the things that Employers for Change pays attention to. So, Jane Oates, episode 184. Then we had our first really big influencer on the show, and her name is Miss Southard, Sutherd, Kiki Southard. If you follow her on TikTok, she has 2.3 million followers on TikTok, over 156,000 followers on Instagram, and this we did on video. So she's sharing those snippets that we did for her episode on her YouTube channel. But you can find them, I'm pretty sure, on TikTok as well as on Instagram. Now, Kiki is also a teacher in residence with a company called Class. And Class is one of those companies that I met at the Future of Ed Tech conference. Now, we had another guest from that company Class. That's Kim Oppelt, Oppelt. And she is somebody else from that company. Again, another thought leader, somebody that's in education. You guys should always go and check all of these guests out. But if you look for Kiki Southard, it's at Kiki Southard, the at symbol. And you can find her very easily on Instagram, as I mentioned, as well as on TikTok. Now, her episode, oh my goodness, I don't see that I have her episode in here. I'll go look it up really fast for us while we're doing this. But I'm going to go and look at number 9. And number 9 that was our guest was, as I'm pulling this one up here, and remember, I'm doing this show live. So over here, our guest was Brian David Robinson. And Brian is a celebrity chef. He's a film producer. He's a philanthropist. He does martial arts. His episode is 223. He talked somewhat about what it was like to be on, have a out of body experience. I found that really interesting. And you might want to go and check that one out because he gave us a completely different perspective as to what it would be like to see face death, if you will. I think that was interesting, and I really he's really a really interesting guy. So you should go and check him out. But Kiki Southard's episode was 227, and Brian's is 223. Now, coming in at number 8 is Ronald Angzy, and his name is Angsiy. Now, part of that show was dedicated to what is that name? How does that even break down? And if you want to know the story of that, you have to go listen to episode 224 with Ronald on there. But he is a financial services futurist. He talked to us about NFTs, decentralized banking. He's a growth expert. This guy is wicked smart also. So you might want to go and listen to that one. Now we have a couple of people that are showing up here again for us because their shows were so popular. And number 7 is Albie Shanefelter. Now that was episode 224, and I told you that his was about gratitude. The whole episode was about gratitude. We played it at Thanksgiving, but he won second place in the most downloaded audio version. He comes in at number 7 on the video side. Now, number 6 is Amanda Allen, and Amanda is episode 187. And Amanda's episode was just as popular in the audio format because she came in at number 9. So she had a lot of views and a lot of downloads. Sorry about that. So you would want to go and listen to Amanda, Florida High Tech Corridor Program Manager, STEM Connect, all of that good stuff. Number 5 is Rosa Espinel Perry. She's one of my favorite. She's a friend. She is a HR, human resource development. That means she's in that training and learning space. She's a thought leader in there. This woman has worked in several different industries, but currently she works with Career Source Central Florida. Her episode is 206, and she comes in as a change and community builder. She's very instrumental with a lot of the programs that Career Source Central Florida does. She's in the corporate office, but she's so active in our community. She goes to women in leadership. She goes to Association of Training and Development. She's had an office, a chapter office there for a while. She's been president for quite some time. She's involved in just about any type of a training and learning conference that comes up. And so I always like going with her. She invites me to them to volunteer with her, and I could not be more grateful. You have to listen to her show. Now, that was episode 206. So coming in number 4, Amelia Heroux, and her last name is spelled Heroux, and it's episode 221. She works for Insperity, and Insperity is a company that's a PEO provider, and they also help provide companies with payroll solutions, with onboarding, with all types of HR functions. As a strategic advisor, she was talking with us about what it was like to be a woman breaking into the sales industry or the sales side of a business. She was one of the first women that came in, and her perspective is very unique. I would encourage you to go and listen to her. She's just a lot of fun. We talked about, horses. We talked about a lot of other things that she does outside of it. But what is the future of HR? And she had some opinions on that. So you would want to go and listen to it or watch it. I'm sorry, this is all video stuff. So you can go watch these videos. So now we're looking at our number 3 person, and that is Johnny Williams. His episode is 108. He was a former NFL pro athlete. He played football. Really, really nice man. He is very passionate about food, wellness, having balance in life. That's really funny, right? Football player. We sometimes we may not think that they're into things like yoga and also balance, but they are, of course. And he's a startup founder in a game industry. So if you want to know more, you got to go listen to his episode. But let's tune into this little snippet so you can have an idea what we were talking about. As your second one, why outdoors? Because you're an athlete.
Yeah, I really like to unplug. I like to get out there and just kind of relax. Check out the scenery. I like to visit a lot of different places and check out the flora and fauna. So,
and we were going to be talking about the Nature Conservancy. I sent you the link. And there's a giant swamp buggy. It has to be like 10. Now I'm going to say 12 feet. It's a ladder.
That's too much.
Like, God.
You gotta climb up into it because it can go, and it's a real bouncy ride. But I think they do charge for that. Otherwise, you can go through the whole park. It's very rustic. It has an animal center. You can see snakes if you're snake averse.
Yeah, I'm not.
Well, some of them are the poisonous snakes, to be clear. That is Johnny Williams with episode 108. Now, our person that comes in for second place is another community builder. His name is John Crossman. His episode is 194. He is a real estate executive. He's a speaker. He's an author. He is about bringing change in areas of diversity, equity, inclusion. He focuses on leadership. He is a big fan and advocate of historic Black colleges. And I have a lot of respect for this man. I was thrilled to finally have him as a guest on the show. And let's go and listen to an episode that he shared about what it was like when he was a kid.
When the Great Recession happened, 5 different men I knew in real estate committed suicide.
No. Oh, sorry, not
in
a kid.
Orlando.
Like locally.
Local
Wow.
people. And so that really hit me hard. And then several years ago, I lost a dear friend of mine to suicide, and it was like, oh, I mean
it feels like a punch in the face, right?
Oh well, and it was somebody I was mentoring on top of that. And
oh my goodness,
I'll tell you this quick story about he was a huge Superman fan, and so if you know in the Superman movie, Superman dies, and Batman at his funeral says, "I failed you in life. I will not fail you in death." And so every year on his birthday, I post that on his Facebook page. I failed you in life. I will not fail you in death. And the first time I posted it, a bunch of people were like, John, it's okay. You didn't really fail him. And I'm like, but don't freak out. What I'm saying is that when that happened, I did not have the skill set to help him.
Mhm,
Like he was suffering in a way I didn't know.
mhm.
And what I'm trying to say is now I can onboard those skills.
Okay, so that was a little snippet of what that conversation was like with John. We talked about so many different things, and you know, he talked about his childhood. He talked about what it was like when he went to college. He has dyslexia. He was very transparent about that. There's so many things in there that I think that a lot of people will identify that they should tune in. And his episode was 194. Now, our number one spot for the audio, I'm sorry, for the video views was Bob Dixon. And his episode is 190. He is an Army veteran, he is an author, and an innovation strategist. And I also met him through Synapse, Florida. And just another little sideway, Brian Cornfield was, who is the founder of Synapse Florida, was a guest on the podcast. So really tune in. You're going to learn so much about things that are just out there. We have had people that talk to us about snakes, about leadership, about AR, VR, about what it is that we would be eating, about, just so many different topics that you would not be bored. I promise you, you would not be bored. Anyway, going back to Bob, he has a new book that's out, and he talks a lot about how his role in the military. He has served over 30 years in the military, and what that is like. But he also ties it back to leadership development and how that can apply to anybody, whether you were in the military or we're not. So his books are written very easy to understand, and also something that you can actually implement. So let's go listen to this episode about Bob.
Okay, I would say leader, a
Yeah.
strategist.
Right? Because you are, in this instance, writing a book on leadership. So I'm glad that's
Yeah.
your word.
Yeah, I've always been a leader, and I don't know that I was always in a leadership position, but if I wasn't, I was always leading somebody. And when I was younger, that was probably leading friends and peers into trouble. So I had to start putting that to good use, and I was able to do that over a career in the military.
Okay, so that was Bob Dixon, and his episode is 190. And that was when we started off with, okay, what were those 5 words that he would use to describe himself? Anyway, you got a sneak peek at all of these different guests, and that's just 6 out of the 50 that were on the podcast for the year. And I would really encourage you to go and download all of it and just go listen to it. You can do it easily while you're walking or driving in the car. Even if you're doing the YouTube ones, you can obviously just listen to them. Anyway, what does the future hold for Employers for Change as we move into 2023? Well, we are looking at, if you want to see what our milestones were, go look at our blog page. It's the number 4, the letter C .tech, TECH. Go to the blog page. You'll find one of our articles there, and it says, this is what we accomplished for the year. And one of the most amazing ones that we had was that we had 10,000 downloads of our podcast here through our listening audience. And so we're very excited about that. And then we also have a game, and on our game we have over, let's see, I think it was 258 people that have played our game. And then lastly, our Employers for Changes, we are fundraising. So we are excited about that and raising investment funding. So I encourage you to go and do that. We do have pilot employers, and we are matching intern talent to employees in a company like a dating site, but we have so much more than just the recruitment side. There's also the learning side. So be sure to go and check out our website, and you'll be able to see if you would like to be one of our Employers for Change. So if you want to go and read on our blog page, like I said, it's e4c.tech, and you would be able to find the blog page easily. You can find our press releases there. You can also find the Intern Whisperer podcast. We air on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we just thank you again. We thank our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios. We thank our production team. And we also want to thank, this music came from Pixabay, and it is free. It is a free, royalty free, but goodness gracious, it is so incredibly good. Really enjoying it. I would say that that would be something that you would definitely want to do, is go look at some of our sponsors that have been supporting our show and our platform, and just look at our employers. So thank you for listening to the show. And next week we have some pretty dynamic guests that are coming in for the next year. And we invite you to go and look and listen to them. If you're going to look, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. And if it's listen, you will be doing that on your favorite streaming device. So thank you so much for being a part of Employers for Change and the Intern Whisper Show.